Today, let's review articles in English grammar. Of course, articles are a and the. But there's one more. Do you know what it is? No article is also an option, an important option. In this lesson, we'll focus on common words that you should never add a or an to. These are words that I hear mistakes with even from my most advanced students. Let's fix that so you feel confident using English articles correctly. Welcome back to J4's English. Of course, I'm Jennifer. Now let's get started. What do you think about this sentence? I need a bread. Is this correct or incorrect? This is incorrect because you should never add a or an to this word. You can simply omit the article and say, I need bread. You can also use a quantifier, I need some bread, or you can use a unit of measurement. I need a loaf of bread. This, of course, means the full bread, but if you only want one piece, you can use a different unit of measurement. You can say, I need a slice of bread. Now, you might be wondering, why can't I add a or an to this word or all the words that we'll review in this lesson? Do you know why? It's because the words that we'll review are considered uncountable nouns. And uncountable nouns don't use singular articles. A and an are the singular articles in English. But they can use a quantifier, such as some bread, or a measurement, a loaf of bread. Also remember that uncountable nouns don't have a plural form. So you would say, I need some bread. The noun is singular, even though some sounds like more than one. You don't say, I need some breads. Don't worry about taking notes because I summarize everything in a free lesson PDF. You can find the link in the description. What about this sentence? Can I give you an advice? This is incorrect. You can say, can I give you some advice? You can omit the article as well, but it's very common to use the word some. But remember, advice is always singular. So you cannot say, even though I hear it every day, even from my advanced students, you cannot say, can I give you some advices? Because the word advices does not exist in English. You can also use a unit of measurement, and in this case, it's can I give you a piece of advice if you want to specify one. So do you want me to give you more advice on how to use articles correctly? If you do, put yes, 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 put yes, yes, yes in the comments below. Now notice that you must memorize the specific measurement word used with the uncountable noun because they're different. We saw a loaf of bread, a slice of bread, a piece of advice. So make sure you're paying attention to those. You can't say he has a money because money is an uncountable noun, but you can say he has some money, he has a lot of money, or you can make this negative and say he doesn't have a lot of money. Now in this case, the unit of measurement would be dollars for American money. He has $1, which represents $1. He has $200. So notice here you put the S because it is countable. Now you could also say he has a bill, which represents paper money, and you can say he has a $10 bill, for example. Many food items are considered uncountable. We already saw bread, and you cannot say, can you buy a lettuce? You can't use an article with lettuce. There's an interesting unit of measurement. We say, can you buy a head of lettuce, which represents one lettuce. Or what a native speaker would say is simply, can you buy lettuce? Now, if you want to be specific about the quantity, you cannot say, can you buy 2 lettuces? Because lettuce is uncountable. So you would have to take the unit of measurement and make that plural. Can you buy 2 heads with the S, 2 heads of lettuce. So remember, it's the unit of measurement that takes the plural form, not the uncountable noun. Make sure you don't say, we need a milk. You would simply say, we need milk, omit the article. You can use a quantifier, we need some milk or more milk. Now, if you want to use a unit of measurement, do you know what it is? Now, in North America, you can either get a carton of milk, which is a smaller size, or a jug of milk, which is a larger size. You can't say, I bought a clothing. The word clothing is uncountable, but you can absolutely say, I bought a shirt, a sweater, a skirt, a bag, a purse, or many other items. Or you can say, I bought some clothing. Remember, no S, but you can also say clothes, which has the S on it. The unit of measurement for clothing, which is uncountable, is I bought an item of clothing. Now remember, when your unit of measurement starts with a vowel sound, you need an instead of a. An item of clothing. So an item of clothing would represent a skirt or a shirt. It could also be a pair of jeans. So notice, jeans is always plural, but the unit of measurement, the singular unit, is a pair of jeans, a pair of pants, a pair of shoes, or a pair of mittens, because there are always 2 with those items. Now you can't say, I bought an item of clothes, because it always has the plural form, but you can say, I bought some clothes. You can't say, I heard an interesting news today. So there's an adjective interesting, but it's an news, or a news without the adjective. That doesn't work. You can use a modifier and say, I heard some interesting news today. That sounds natural. Or the unit of measurement, do you know what it is? I heard an interesting piece of news today. Now that means 1. So if you want to refer to 3 separate things, you would say, I heard 3 interesting pieces with the S of news, also with the S today. Keep in mind, news is uncountable, but it's always spelled with an S. But it's conjugated as singular, so it's conjugated as it. The news, it, is interesting. Now you can't ask someone, do you take a sugar in your coffee? You would simply say, do you take sugar in your coffee? Or you can use any in the question form. Do you take any sugar in your coffee? And to answer, you can say, yes, I take 1 cube, 1 spoonful, or 1 packet of sugar, depending on how the sugar comes. So to make that plural, you would say, yes, I take 2 cubes. In the context of sugar, you can even drop that because it's obvious, but you could also say 2 cubes of sugar. Now just note that conversationally, natives will say, yes, I take 1 sugar or 2 sugars to simply represent 2 spoonfuls or packets of sugar, but keep in mind this isn't a general rule. This is specifically with sugar in drinks, even though sugar is uncountable. Continuing with food, you can say, do you want a cheese? Again, in a question form, use the modifier any. Do you want any cheese? Or you can offer, do you want a slice of cheese? That would be for a sandwich. Now, just to eat as a snack, you can ask someone, do you want a piece of cheese? And often they come in very pretty cubes at parties with a toothpick. Do you want a cube of cheese? Now, to refer to the whole cheese, you can say, do you want a brick of cheese? Don't say, I need a paper, but you can say, I need a sheet of paper. You could also say a piece of paper, but sheet is the most common. Or you can ask someone, do you have any paper? And then they might ask you, oh, how many sheets do you need? or sheets of paper. But if it's obvious that it's paper, you can drop that and just use the unit of measurement. Keep in mind, paper is uncountable when referring to the material that you write on. But paper is countable when referring to the information or documents. For example, I have a paper to review. This is one document, so one sheet of paper with information on it. Or you might say, there are so many papers on her desk, because remember, as the countable noun, it can be singular or plural. So here, this represents there are so many documents, so again, sheets of paper with information on them. You can't say he bought her a jewelry, but you can use the unit of measurement and say he bought her a piece of jewelry, which is one item. But the actual name of the jewelry, you can say he bought her a ring, a necklace, or a bracelet. But earrings, there are always two, so in that case it's always plural. He bought her earrings. But you could certainly say, oh no, I lost a earring to represent one, so it is possible. Now to put these together, you can say he bought her two pieces, with that S, two pieces of jewelry, a ring, and a matching bracelet. Don't say, do you have a luggage? That doesn't work, but you can say, do you have a bag or a suitcase? So bag and suitcase are regular nouns, singular, plural, but luggage is a collective noun. But for all three, you can say, do you have any luggage? But any is a plural word. So for bags and suitcases, you would add the S. Do you have any luggage, bags, or suitcases? You can reply and say, yes, I have one piece of luggage, or yes, I have two pieces of luggage. Now let's talk about soap. You can't say, I made you a soap, but there is a unit of measurement. Do you know what it is? I made you a bar of soap, or I made you 3 bars of soap. Or again, the quantifier, I made you some soap. You can't say, I have a sand in my eye, because the word sand is uncountable. You would simply say, I have sand in my eye, because usually you don't specify the quantity. It's common to use some. I have some sand in my eye. But if you want to be precise, the unit of measurement is I have a grain of sand in my eye. Let's go back to cooking. You can't say, did you buy a butter? So it's common to just omit the article and just say, did you buy butter? Again, in a question form, it's common to add any. Did you buy any butter? Now, there is a unit of measurement. Did you buy a stick of butter? Now, this unit of measurement, a stick of, is commonly used for recipes. So you'll see this recipe calls for, which means requires, 2 sticks of butter. And just a fun fact, 1 stick of butter is half a cup of butter, which is another unit of measurement. Now, you also can't say, I have a toothpaste. So toothpaste is a collective noun. You would just say, I have toothpaste. You could say, I have enough toothpaste or a lot of toothpaste. So you don't always have to just say some. There are other modifiers that you can use. But there is a unit of measurement. Do you know what that is? I have a tube of toothpaste, a tube of toothpaste. You could say, I bought 3 tubes of toothpaste. They were buy 2, get 1 free. Buy 2 tubes, get 1 tube free. These are the most common collective nouns that I hear mistakes with. Do you want me to keep making lessons on articles for you? If you do, put yes, 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 put yes, yes, yes in the comments below. And of course, make sure you like this lesson, share it with your friends, and subscribe so you're notified every time I post a new lesson. And you can get this free speaking guide where I share 6 tips on how to speak English fluently and confidently. You can click here to download it or look for the link in the description. And here's another lesson I know you'll love. Watch it now.